Ilia Topuria is already back in the gym, grinding for what could be the most dangerous fight of his entire career. We're talking about Justin Gaethje at the White House event, and let me tell you something right now, this matchup is absolutely terrifying for both men. Gaethje brings that relentless, bone-crushing pressure that has ended careers, while Topuria has been on this unstoppable run that has people questioning if he's even human. But here's what's wild about this situation. Some of the biggest names in MMA are already breaking down this fight, and their predictions are all over the place. Some see a massacre, others see an upset brewing. And after hearing what they had to say, I'm starting to think this fight could go sideways in ways nobody's expecting. Michael Bisping looked at this White House showdown and said something that caught everyone off guard. He thinks this is actually the perfect fight to book right now, especially when you consider what's available in the featherweight division. And here's why that matters. While everyone was getting distracted by Islam Makhachev potentially moving divisions and all the call-out drama, they completely missed the fact that we're getting an absolute war between two of the most dangerous finishers in the sport. Bisping broke it down like this. Topuria is the interim champion with arguably the most devastating left hand in all of MMA, and Gaethje is the guy who brings pure chaos every single time he steps into that octagon. But here's where Bisping got really serious about this matchup. He spent serious time talking about Topuria's power, and this is crucial to understand if you want to know how this fight ends. According to Bisping, if Topuria connects clean with that left hand, things can end quickly and violently, even against someone as battle-tested and tough as Gaethje. That's not just hype talk. That's a former champion warning people about what they're about to witness.
But let's talk about this real quick. Now, first things first, the fight that should happen and is happening, thankfully, is Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje, okay? Never mind Islam Makhachev. I know that would be a tremendous fight, and we'd all love to see that. And I would like to see them finally settle this beef that kind of Topuria started, just going after Islam, and I get it. That's what you got to do. You got to chat shit, you got to talk big, you got to try and generate hype to get the biggest fights, because you want to get in, make some money, and get out as fast as possible. Like Conor McGregor said back in the day, right?
Get in, get rich, get out.
And Topuria is doing just that. I mean, look at the run that he is on. By the way, if he knocks out Justin Gaethje at the White House, that respectfully to Justin Gaethje, there's a good chance that that happens, because the punching power is just different. It really is. And Justin Gaethje got cracked off Paddy Pimblett multiple times. You never know. I'm not counting out Justin. He's going to do a great training camp, and I'm sure he'll come.
But wait, it gets even more interesting. Bisping made it crystal clear that Gaethje isn't just walking into this fight reckless and hoping for the best. He's showing up prepared with a serious game plan because he knows exactly what's on the line here. And that's what makes this matchup so unpredictable. You've got Topuria, who's been knocking out big names left and right, building this aura of invincibility around him. Then you have Gaethje, who's never met a fight he wouldn't turn into absolute violence. Bisping pointed out something that should have everyone paying attention. Topuria's incredible run recently is changing how people view him as a fighter. When you're knocking out elite competition one after another, it builds this momentum that becomes almost unstoppable. And here's the kicker. If Topuria manages to stop Gaethje as well, it would add another massive name to that streak and push him even further into the spotlight as one of the absolute best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport. That possibility is what makes this matchup feel so important for the White House event, because a win here doesn't just defend a title, it cements a legacy.
But one shot from Ilia Topuria can put you to sleep. Just ask the last few people that he knocked out. Who are they? Well, that would be Justin, if it happens. That would be Charles Oliveira. Absolutely flatlined that guy who looked ridiculous against Max Holloway. Before that, it was Max Holloway, right? Stopped him, made it look kind of easy again. And before that, knocked out Volkanovski, right? The man's punching power is on another level. Can you imagine he knocks out Justin Gaethje as well? What a run. Four of the biggest names in mixed martial arts, and he knocks them out one after the other, consecutively even.
Now get this. Chael Sonnen came out swinging at everyone calling the White House card a bad idea, and his defense was absolutely brilliant. His main point was that people are completely forgetting who Gaethje really is in this sport and what he's accomplished over the years. And when you actually look at his resume, it's pretty D***MN impressive. Sonnen pointed out that Geithch had won the interim title twice and the BMF title, which shows he's been operating at the championship level for years. This isn't some random fighter who got thrown into a main event just to fill a slot on the card. This is a guy with serious accolades under his belt and a reputation as one of the toughest, most exciting fighters in the entire division. Someone who has earned his spot through wars and massive performances that fans still talk about today. But here's what Sonnen really wanted people to understand. Geithch is not just tough, he's proven. When the lights are brightest and the stakes are highest, he shows up and delivers. That's exactly what you want in a fighter headlining an event this historic.
We're told that Ilia Topuria is on the heels of everybody. So now he's going to come in against your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. We're completely dismissing Gaethje, which I feel that you're forgetting is a two-time interim champion of the world. Tell me somebody else who can make that claim. Who's a BMF champion of the world. Justin Gaethje has captured 3 belts and is going for his 4th. They brought you what they had. You then had other guys.
Kamaru Usman had a completely different take on this whole situation, and honestly, it makes perfect sense when you think about it. Usman looked at the White House main event and said this matchup fits the event perfectly, and his reasoning was simple but powerful. If there was one fighter that absolutely had to be on a big American event like this, it was Geithch, period. And here's why that's so important to understand. Usman talked about how Geithch always shows up to fight and never holds back, no matter what the consequences might be for him personally. He's the type of fighter who's willing to take serious damage just to make the fight exciting for the fans, which is exactly what you want in a main event on this kind of massive platform. Because of that reputation, Usman felt it made complete sense that Geithch was locked into the card early in the planning process, almost like the promotion knew they needed him there to guarantee fireworks. The only real question was finding the right opponent, and once Topuria became available after his recent dominant performances, that matchup naturally became the main event because it's the one that makes the most sense from both a competitive and entertainment standpoint.
That main event, Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje. Of course, this is the fight that we all knew, we all kind of wanted. And Henry, we talked about this before. Justin Gaethje was always on this card. If there was one guy that you stamped as the guy that should be on this card, it's Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is as American as it is. The guy that delivers the whole time, that delivers every time, is willing to really throw his safety out of the window to go out there and entertain. That's the guy that you put on the marquee, of course. And so Justin Gaethje was always on this card. I think the holdup kind of was, well, we want to see what's going on with Ilia Topuria. Is he going to vacate? Is he going up? Would he fight Islam? Or do we see what's going on with Shu? I think this potential showdown this last weekend, Max or Oliveira, do we see how that turns out, how that plays out? Or Armin. So I think there was a lot of things in play here, but you know, Henry, it is what it is. We have our main event, and I think it's a bang.
But here's where Usman's analysis gets really interesting, and this could be the key to the entire fight. He pointed out that Geithch is once again being placed as a big underdog, which is something that has happened to him multiple times throughout his career, and it's a narrative he's not only familiar with but actually thrives under. Think about it. When a fighter keeps hearing that they're supposed to lose and everyone is picking against them, it can push them to perform at a completely different level and prove all the doubters wrong. So while Topuria is getting most of the attention because of his recent finishing streak and his devastating power, Usman believes Geithch actually thrives in these moments where people doubt him and write him off. That's exactly why he sees this matchup as an extremely dangerous fight for both men, because Geithch has absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain by shocking the world and ruining Topuria's perfect run. And honestly, that's when Geithch is at his most dangerous, when his back is against the wall and everyone expects him to lose.
Not only is it a banging main event, look at there's odds out already, and it's crazy, these odds. They still have Justin at like a 4-1 underdog, which is, what was Justin his last fight? He was what is it, a 3-1 underdog their last fight? Something crazy like that. He was the underdog. Justin Gaethje was the underdog. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, these whoever the odds makers are or whatever, I just feel like, you know, the disrespect is there. I mean, even myself, I was an underdog in my fight. You know, the disrespect is there, but it is what it is. You know, that's what we love to do as professional athletes. We like to go in there and we like.
Luke Thomas broke down the White House main event from a completely different angle, focusing on the title situation and why this fight actually makes perfect sense when you consider the division politics. His main point was that when you look at the available options in the featherweight division right now, this matchup is actually the most logical choice because of how the titles are currently structured and how things played out recently. Here's the situation. Topuria holds the main belt while Gietch came in with the interim title from his previous fight, so putting them together cleanly settles that whole messy situation and unifies the division once and for all. But Thomas also talked about the stylistic elements of this matchup and why it should be absolutely entertaining regardless of people's opinions about the event location or the politics surrounding it. In his view, both fighters bring non-stop action every single time they step into that octagon. So this fight is likely to be intense and violent while it lasts, whether that ends up being 1 round or all 5 rounds. He made a crucial point that should have everyone paying attention. Gietch always carries the ability to completely change a fight with just one perfectly timed shot, which keeps this matchup dangerous even if most people are leaning toward Topuria right now based on his recent form and momentum.
Coming, Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje. Of all the available choices that they have, yes, would have been great to have, you know, Ilia versus Arman or Ilia versus Islam, sure. But in a world where Gaethje is already the interim champion based on UFC 324, this is the fight that has to happen to unify those titles, right? Because Ilia has the normal title and Gaethje has the interim one. The fight will be exciting. I know people were talking like, oh, you can't have an American get stretched on the White House lawn. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. There's absolutely no connection historically to mixed martial arts and, you know, I don't know, the patriotic trimmings generally. More to the point, like, this is an important fight. You've got an American in it, and if Ilia wins, you're now putting over on one of your sort of more significant cards, one of the most important guys currently on your roster, and maybe.
At the same time, Thomas acknowledged something that could define Topuria's entire career moving forward. If Topuria wins on a stage this big, with this much attention and pressure, it pushes him even further as one of the most important names the promotion will build around not just in the coming year, but potentially for years to come. We're talking about a fighter who could become the face of an entire division and maybe even the sport itself. That's the kind of pressure that breaks some fighters and elevates others to legendary status. John Morgan had yet another perspective on this matchup that actually makes a lot of sense when you consider what this event is supposed to represent. His main point was that this White House show is not just about perfect rankings or traditional matchmaking based on who's next in line according to some arbitrary list. This is about putting on a massive spectacle that people will remember and talk about for years, and that requires a completely different kind of calculation when booking fights.
I believe that Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria on the White House lawn is not the fight
Doesn't
to
make sense,
there,
yeah.
right? You gotta have Justin Gaethje. There's no more red-blooded American wearing the flag going out there than Justin Gaethje, right? Especially knowing that we probably don't have much Justin Gaethje left, right? He's kind of said, I'm kind of nearing the end of it. So to be like, well, we can't do this, but we'll bring him back at Madison Square Garden, or, you know, we're some whatever it may be. Like, this is one of a kind. So again, not the Islam from a, you know, a meritocratic standpoint wouldn't deserve this. Of course he would, man, what he's doing. But I actually do like this fight. I think it was the right fight.
Because of that approach, having Gietch in the main event works perfectly, even if he's not technically the #1 contender on paper according to the rankings. Morgan talked about how Gietch always brings absolute chaos to his fights, and this is absolutely key to understanding why he continues to get these massive opportunities. Even when he loses fights, they rarely end quietly or boringly because he's always willing to take serious damage in order to give serious damage back, and that creates those unforgettable moments that fans talk about forever. Those are the kinds of fights that define careers and create legends. But Morgan also leaned toward Topuria being the clear favorite in the actual matchup, and his reasoning was pretty compelling when you break it down. He pointed to the incredible run Topuria has been on recently, and the level of elite fighters he has already beaten, which includes big names with completely different fighting styles. At this point, Morgan sees Topuria as one of the most complete fighters in the entire sport, someone who doesn't have any obvious weaknesses that opponents can exploit to find success.
Honest about it, just look, Ilia Topuria is the favorite against anybody other than maybe Islam Makhachev right now, and I think that would be a
The striking ability is obvious and absolutely terrifying to watch, but Morgan also brought up something that people sometimes overlook when analyzing Topuria. His grappling is way more solid than most people realize, which makes him even more dangerous and well-rounded. Because of that completeness in all areas, Morgan believes it would be extremely difficult for any opponent to beat Topuria over 5 full rounds by simply trying to outfight him technically, because he's better than most people think in every single area of mixed martial arts. But here's what's really interesting about this entire matchup, and it comes down to timing, and where both fighters are in their careers right now. This fight is being viewed as a very tough challenge for Gietz, mainly because of the different stages of their careers, and where they are both physically and mentally at this point. The general consensus is that Topuria will likely come in as a significant favorite because he's younger, hungrier, and riding this incredible wave of momentum, while Gietz is already deep into his career and has absorbed a tremendous amount of damage over the years of wars and battles.
the run that he's on, the skills he's capable of. He's the favorite here for a reason. If there is somebody, because I don't think you want to outpoint Ilia Topuria over 5 rounds. No. You know what I mean? I don't know. And I think people forget how good his grappling is, too. So you might be like, we've seen how great his striking is. You may say, oh, well, what if you had a real dominant wrestler? Like, he's a pretty good grappler, too.
Well, if last night didn't send you a reminder of that, what he was able to do to Max and what Charles couldn't do to him.
100%,
holy cow.
Right? So I think what you want is somebody that can walk into a battle, take some shots, keep moving forward, and maybe land that big one. Mm-hmm. That's Justin Gaethje.
Justin Gaethje can do it.
That's Justin Gaethje in a nutshell. Now, I think most people and experts ahead of it will be picking Ilia Topuria, but that's again why.
Still, absolutely nobody is treating this like an easy fight for Topuria, and they definitely shouldn't be making that mistake. Gietz remains extremely dangerous for several key reasons that could completely change this fight in an instant. It's been pointed out by multiple analysts that Gietz always carries real knockout danger because of how incredibly hard he hits and how relentlessly aggressive his fighting style is, regardless of who he's facing across from him. The constant pressure, those devastating calf kicks that have dropped multiple opponents, and his underrated ability to wrestle when the situation calls for it mean he always has multiple ways to make fights ugly, unpredictable, and dangerous for his opponents. That's exactly why you can never count him out completely, no matter what the odds say or how much momentum his opponent has coming into the fight.
One of the gnarliest boxers in the UFC. He's going to be a huge, huge favorite versus Justin Highlight Gaethje. Justin Highlight Gaethje, 37 years old. It's going to be a tough one. 2-fight win streak, but again, you can never count Justin Gaethje out. The dude hits hard. The dude could calf kick you to hell. He can wrestle good. He's well-rounded. Everyone is going to be counting Justin Gaethje out. And if Justin Gaethje can get it done on that night, oh my God, that'll be sweet.
Here's what should have everyone excited about this matchup. Topuria has already started preparing for this war with Gietz, which shows exactly how seriously he's taking this challenge and the immense respect he has for what Gietz brings to the table every single time. Even though the event is still some time away, and he definitely could have taken more time off to rest and recover, he's already back in training camp and getting ready for the kind of absolute violence that Gietz always brings to his fights. That dedication also tells us a lot about what kind of main event this could turn into, because both guys are preparing for an all-out war from the opening bell. Topuria is coming in with serious momentum and confidence from his recent performances, while Gietz is the type of fighter who has never shown up for a slow, careful, or boring fight in his entire career, which means we're almost guaranteed to see fireworks and violence. With both fighters known for finishing opponents in spectacular fashion, and neither one having a single boring fight on their record, this matchup has a very real chance of turning into one of those legendary fights that people talk about and rewatch for years after the event is over. The kind of fight that defines careers and creates instant classics. So there you have it. 2 of the most dangerous finishers in the sport, both preparing for war, both with everything to prove on the biggest stage possible. Topuria wants to cement his legacy as the division's king, while Gietz is looking to prove that experience and heart can overcome youth and momentum. This isn't just about a title. This is about who has the bigger heart when everything is on the line. What do you think happens when these 2 killers finally meet in the center of that octagon? Drop your predictions in the comments because honestly, this could go either way, and I can't wait to see who's right. If this breakdown helped you understand what's really at stake in this fight, smash that like button, subscribe for more MMA analysis, and hit that notification bell because this is just the beginning of what's going to be an insane year of fights.